This is Dan Dicks here, reporting for Press for Truth, and as you can tell by the title of this video, guys, we have a lot of information to cover, so let's just jump right into it. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, if you've never heard of her or seen her before, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot from this woman in the very near future, and that's because she is currently Joe Biden's pick for the Supreme Court. He nominated her for the Supreme Court of the United States, and she has just recently refused to define the word woman because she's, quote, not a biologist. That's right. Here is the clip. Get a load of this, guys.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Again, this is the person that Joe Biden nominated for the Supreme Court of the United States of America. You know, it reminds me of the recent situation with Leah Thomas, and there's this lady here who's arguing with this guy in the pool, saying that is a man. That is a man swimming against women right there, and he says, what, are you a biologist? And listen to her response to that accusation.
Are you a biologist? Oh my God, don't be ridiculous. I'm not a vet, but I know what a dog is.
She said, I'm not a vet, but I know what a dog is. So yeah, we're going to take a look at this a little bit more in depth, guys. We're also going to look at this so-called hate pastor forced to resign from New York City position after horrific anti-LGBTQ comments were made public. The New York City mayor, Eric Adams, has pushed an appointee to resign after her history of extreme anti-LGBTQ rhetoric came to light. And spoiler alert, guys, this pastor, this mother, had her daughter of 3 years old who started expressing the idea that she thinks she might be a boy. The mother simply began praying for her daughter. She instructed her husband to pray for her daughter, and her daughter eventually realized she is a little girl and is now quite happy to be a little girl. That's the story. That's why they're calling this pastor hateful in this horrific anti-LGBTQ case of extreme anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. It's just absolutely insane, guys. So we're going to break that one down for you. Meanwhile, there's apparently a clear sign Russia will use deadly chemical weapons against Ukraine in a false flag operation. According to Joe Biden, he has warned earlier this month that it would pay a severe price, Russia, if it used chemical weapons in its invasion of Ukraine. So we're going to get a little bit into the history of false flag operations and my exposés on those. We'll also look at this. What is the New World Order? And why has Joe Biden caused uproar by using this phrase? Here's a clip going around the internet right now, guys, as he recently invoked the words New World Order.
60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it.
So he says there's going to be a new world order out there, and we have to lead it. And you got outlets like the Independent here saying U.S. president excites conspiracy theorists with unfortunate choice of words, or this ridiculous Vice article. Oh no, Joe Biden said new world order, and conspiracy theorists are losing it. Well, Vice and Independent, maybe you guys ought to get with the times. Here's a video I put out way back in 2013, April 10th, 2013, titled Ushering in the New World Order, where I include a clip of Joe Biden saying we need a new world order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again.
I exposed this in this video again way back in April 10th of 2013. So we're gonna take a look at that as well, guys. And finally, we'll take a look at what I think the true upcoming false flag may be. The next false flag will be a cyber attack on global supply chains cyber polygon exposed. And this, of course, is an interview I did with my friend James Corbett of the Corbett Report about the upcoming cyber polygon simulated event. So we're going to talk about all of that and much, much more in this video, guys. But before we do, I'd ask that you check me out right here at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal by clicking there. You can contribute some Bitcoin if you're up in that space by clicking on that banner. I also accept other cryptocurrencies. You can do that by clicking here. I'm also on Subscribestar. This is a great alternative to Patreon, who recently canceled me. Another great alternative for a monthly reoccurring contribution is right here. You can sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. You can also send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or if you like to keep it old school, you can send cash or checks or simply just words of encouragement. That can all be sent to my P.O. box. Once again, links are located in the description below. Thank you so much to everybody who does contribute to my efforts here to bring you this information. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to be hearing a lot from this this woman over the next few months, I do believe, and it should be noted as well. We'll point out that this is a recent controversy involving this woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson, gave lighter sentences to child pornographers because computers facilitate greater number of images. But the way that the guideline is now, she says, structured, is leading to extreme disparities in the system because it's so easy for people to get volumes of this material now by computers. It's an absolutely ridiculous argument that she's making, saying, you know, back in the day, we used to try these pedophiles by the severity of their crimes, by how many, you know, images they were in possession of. And she says now times are different. You know, we got the internet, we have computers. They're not necessarily bad violators just because they have such ease of access of getting vast amounts of images these days. It's an absolutely terrible, disgusting argument. But again, gives you a little bit of insight into the person that we're dealing with here, who now is refusing to define the word woman because she's, quote, not a biologist. So let's pull it back a little bit for context and just listen to the conversation that leads up to that question.
Don't have the funds to send their child to a private school. They're relying on the school systems, the public school systems, and it is important to them to have a Supreme Court that is going to protect parental rights to teach these children as parents see fit to have their children taught. And I will tell you too, with Georgetown Day School, I found it astounding that it teaches kindergartners, 5-year-old children, and I've got grandchildren, and they teach them that they can choose their gender.
They're teaching, just to reiterate, 5-year-old children that they can change their gender. They do the same thing here in British Columbia. Kindergartners, 5-year-olds, go through something called SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity, it's called. And they're teaching this to very, very young children. Why are we sexualizing children, teaching them about sexuality at such a young age? To me, it's abusive. And I love that this congresswoman decided to grill this potential Supreme Court of Justice judge about this important issue. So let's continue.
So is this what you were praising when you applauded the, and I'm quoting you, transformative power of Georgetown Day School's progressive education? Do you agree that our schools should teach children that they can choose their gender?
Simple question.
Senator, I'm not remembering exactly what quote you're referencing, but
She might as well be a
Georgetown
politician.
Day School
Pretty good job
is
of
It was in
answering
a
without
book,
answering.
and you gave the quote. Okay.
Georgetown Day School is a private school
Yes.
that
Yeah,
They can do
I'm
what they
asking,
want.
do you agree that schools should teach children that they can choose their gender?
Senator,
She won't do it.
I'm not making comments about
All right.
what schools can teach.
Let
Pathetic.
me ask you this then. United States versus Virginia, the Supreme Court struck down VMI's male-only admission policy. Writing for the majority, Justice Ginsburg stated, "Supposed inherent differences are no longer accepted as a ground for race or national origin classifications. Physical differences between men and women, however, are enduring. The two sexes are not fungible. A community made up exclusively of one sex is different from a community composed of both." Do you agree with Justice Ginsburg that there are physical differences between men and women that are enduring?
Come on now.
Senator, respectfully, I am not familiar with that particular quote or case,
Okay.
so it's hard
Okay, let's
for me
just
to
get right to the specifics
Okay.
here.
comment as to whether
All
or
right,
not.
I'd love to get your opinion on that, and you can submit that. Do you interpret Justice Ginsburg's meaning of men and women as male and female?
Honing in on it now.
Again, because I don't know the case, I don't know how I interpret it. I need to read the whole
Okay.
thing. You know,
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
can I provide a definition?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can?
What a crazy time to be alive when the top nominee for the Supreme Court of the United States of America can openly say, I cannot define what a woman is because, quote, I'm not a biologist.
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the
All right.
law and I decide. So I'm not.
The
No,
fact
yeah,
that
those
you-
disputes are going to continue to come up, and it sounds like you are going to completely take the side of what Biden is trying to push by hiring a transgender health administrator. You know, and you know, this is just continuing that trend.
can't give me a straight answer
No,
about
she can't
something
give a straight
as
answer.
fundamental
It's just
as
wild.
what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
Guys, I'm going to include links to everything you're seeing in this video in the description area of wherever you are watching this, whether that be on BitChute or Odyssey or Minds or Float or Rumble. Check the links, the description area, open up more, continued, whatever it says, down, and look in the descriptions for all the links to all of this stuff, guys. I want to encourage you to check it all out for yourself. But let's jump into this. This is a story I said that's really, again, a insane sign of the times. I gave you the gist of it. But it says here, back in 2004, her book, When Your Mess Becomes the Message, Barrett Lane, said that her child told her she was a boy when the kid was 3 years old. After the child was in the same room as a lesbian. She wrote that her and her husband began to militantly and violently pray for and with and over our daughter. We prayed against every spirit that was not of God, including the spirit of homosexuality, she wrote. At the end of the prayer, my daughter asked me if she was a girl. When I told her yes, she happily began to sing and rejoice about being mommy and daddy's little girl. To tell you this was one of the most frightening experiences I had with my little girl is an understatement. So again, this is a mother who's a minister, a pastor of the church, whose 3-year-old daughter started getting this idea that maybe she's a boy, and she simply prayed for her daughter, and her daughter now realizes that, no, that was silly, I'm just a girl. For that, they are not only saying that this is horrific anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, that this is extreme anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, but they go on to say that she needs to be replaced. her replacement needs to be someone from the LGBTQ community. Like, they really wanted to slap it in the face. And again, it's this systematic replacement of these, bureaucratic positions essentially that are being taken over by the LGBTQ nation, who Biden is all for. So just something I wanted to bring to your attention, guys, because when we're seeing stuff like this, going on, we're seeing the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson can't even define a woman. I mean, it's, as I said, really is a truly shocking sign of the times that we're in, which is why I wanted to bring this one to your attention too, guys. But let's get into this other important topic of the day. As we see here, U.S. President Joe Biden warned Russia earlier this month that it would pay a severe price if it used chemical weapons in its invasion with Ukraine. Although Russia claimed to have destroyed its chemical weapons stockpile back in 2017, at least 3 assassination attempts involving toxic munitions have been tied to Moscow since 2015. Biden did not say exactly how the U.S. would retaliate. I'm not going to speak about the intelligence, but Russia will pay a severe price if they use chemicals, Biden told CNN on March 11th. 10 days later, Biden hardened his stance during a business roundtable event, stating that Russian President Vladimir Putin's back is against the wall, and now he's talking about new false flags that he's setting up. Biden went on to say that the Russian false flag claims that Kyiv has biological and chemical weapons is a clear sign that he is considering using both of those. The White House expressed concerns earlier this month that Russia could begin using chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine, either directly or in a false flag operation designed to legitimize the invasion. A false flag operation is one in which an individual or group or even state launches an attack and then blames it on another in order to provide justification or legitimacy for subsequent actions. And of course, I've been teaching my audience about what exactly false flag attacks are and how these things are carried out. I got this one back from May of 2010, called Order Out of Chaos, where I explain exactly that, what a false flag really is, where it is derived from, and how they are going to use these in the future as their means of carrying out order out of chaos to gain a tighter grip of control on society. Check out this clip from, over 12 years ago now. Another interesting note to make is the fact that governments and authorities, agencies like the RCMP, the CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, engage in a manipulation technique known as false flags. Now, a false flag operation is a covert operation that is done in an attempt to deceive the public into believing that somebody else orchestrated some sort of attack. The term was derived from the military. It's literally the concept of flying the flag of another country when you're doing an attack. So what we see with the firebombing in Ottawa is, highly, highly questionable, especially when you consider the fact that they often use this idea of the Hegelian dialectic, which is where you set up the thesis, you also set up the antithesis or antithesis, so that you can offer your synthesis to the very problem that you created in the first place. It is more commonly referred to as problem, reaction, solution, where you create a problem, say the bombing, you get a reaction, say, oh my God, what are we going to do about this? And then you offer your solution to the problem, which is more cameras, more security, more lockdown, more of just... Oh, not bad. How are you?
What's going on?
So, yeah, no surprise to me. In fact, I've been warning about these things for quite some time. A lot of what we're seeing right now with Biden's talk about Russia potentially using this, chemical weapons on the people of Ukraine, either that or potentially causing a false flag is precisely reminding me of what I exposed with the U.S. administration was doing against Syria back when they were accusing Bashir al-Assad of potentially going to use chemical weapons against his own people. And back then, I went on Iranian press TV and gave a live interview explaining that it's quite possible that the U.S. would be involved in a false flag attack that would then be used to provide the excuse for a humanitarian mission so that they could go in and invade Syria. And I'm seeing all the exact same parallels today with what Biden is saying about Russia and how he's potentially going to be using these chemical weapons. And now there's talk of potential false flags. Well, we're seeing the parallels here. So I just want to show you this. If you haven't seen this one from quite a while back, I was explaining to the Iranian people on Press TV that we may see a false flag in terms of this chemical scare coming from Bashar al-Assad, but it would be purposefully blamed on him to provide an excuse to enter under a humanitarian mission. Here's that clip.
Crossover to Toronto now. We're being joined by the founder of Press for Truth, Dan Dicks, to discuss the situation in Syria a bit further. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, sir. Now, the fight for Aleppo still continues, with many terming it as a turning point. How important do you think Aleppo has become in what many call the proxy war of the U.S. and its allies against Assad?
Well, knowing that Aleppo is the most densely populated city in Syria, it is the key to this current battle that is going on. If they manage to take over the city of Aleppo, that could potentially mean the beginning of the end, and that's why we hope to see the Syrian government continue to push back these Al-Qaeda-led rebels who, we have to remember, there's a large propaganda campaign going on here in the West to convince everyone that the violence and the bloodshed is coming at the hands of the Assad government. Meanwhile, we've known for decades now that the U.S., along with British and Israeli criminal elements within the intelligence networks, have been the ones funding, training, arming these Al-Qaeda rebels and creating the chaos and generating the mayhem in order to provide an excuse for military intervention under the guise of humanitarianism. So I think Aleppo is absolutely important to continue to pay attention to because what happens there could certainly trigger the rest of this ongoing situation there in Syria.
Indeed, now the UN observers have moved out of Aleppo, we've just reported, due to the heavy fighting, and their mandate also soon comes to an end. Assad has, Annan has left his post. The UN observer mandate is set to expire soon as well. Where does this leave the 6-point peace plan?
Well, I think having Annan announce his stepping down is going to be used again as more propaganda to suggest that a 6-point peace plan is not possible and that this conflict cannot be resolved peacefully. Therefore, military intervention may be the only answer to stop the bloodshed. So it's certainly unfortunate that Annan is stepping down, but that's something that we have to certainly pay attention to as well. They could say that it looks like there is no peaceful resolution, especially if he's stepping down. Therefore, maybe the only answer is going to be military intervention, and I have a feeling that some of the things we may be hearing more of here in the West in response to Annan's announcement of stepping down.
Right, now, speaking of which, many have warned the United States against military intervention in Syria. It is perhaps a war that the U.S. may not be able to afford, but would it come to that if things don't go the way the West wants, or will it continue with this proxy war through militants, a lot of whom are not even Syrian?
Well, we have to understand that there's been a concerted effort over the last few decades for a complete, total takeover of the Middle East, one nation at a time. We've seen it with Iraq. We've seen it as recently as with Libya. And so these efforts are certainly going to continue with Syria in this proxy war, which many of us fear that the bigger picture here is also an eventual military-led intervention in Iran. I think they have to focus on Syria first because of the allies there, and if they manage to get their stronghold, take over Aleppo there, the next phase may very well be to have an opportunity to infiltrate or take over Hezbollah, which would open up the door for an Iran invasion. So that's why it's incredibly important to continue to expose this propaganda for what it is, so that we can counter that and hopefully bring some awareness to some people here in the West that this is not going to be beneficial for the Syrian people. I mean, who made the United States and Israel and Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Britain, and others the global police here? If the Syrian people want to oust Assad, it should be completely up to them to do so, and not outside military forces who are imposing this on the Assad regime.
Right, and very quickly, if you can, as far as the mainstream media goes, it has played its part with regard to the situation in Syria in building up this consent against the Assad government. How do you interpret it?
I'm sorry?
How do you interpret the role the mainstream media has played as far as the situation in Syria goes?
Well, getting the people behind this idea of a need for military intervention is absolutely key to be able to go in there. And I think that's why we're seeing such a ramping up of the propaganda and the spin campaign over here in regards to the situation in Syria. There's so many conflicting reports. It's almost hard to keep track of everything that's going on. You mentioned earlier there was some intelligence officers who were captured, and as I understand it, some chemical weapons may have potentially been obtained by the Al-Qaeda rebels from Libya through Turkey, and we have to be careful of the scenario of a false flag type event, where if this propaganda campaign does not work, they may try to stage some sort of chemical attack, which would be blamed on the Assad government. Of course, this would be done by the Al-Qaeda rebels to be blamed on Assad to provide the excuse, once again, to intervene militarily. So if this propaganda campaign does not hold up, we have to be very aware of the fact that they may take it to the extent of launching a false flag type scenario there in Syria. But once again, the most important thing we can do here in the West is try to counter this propaganda and let the people of the world know that it is indeed the Al-Qaeda, American, Israeli-funded rebels who are the ones responsible for this, the loss of civilians and the bloodshed going on there right now.
So I do think, as you can see there, we're going to see some similarities here with the call from the Biden administration for the need to enter Ukraine under a humanitarian mission, all because of the use of chemical weapons by Putin. But let me just reiterate, as I've said before, he's not a complete, total madman. He's not just going to go in there with chemical weapons. This is all being hashed up by the criminal elements within the intelligence communities, specifically the CIA, CSIS, Mossad, MI5. These are the intelligence communities that we got to look to when it comes to who's actually carrying out these false flag attacks. And finally, guys, as we saw, you know, Biden's going around talking now about this need for a new world order, or at least that a new world order is being built and they have to be the ones to lead it. I've already showed you that I you know, pointed out this is nothing new back from my video ushering in the new world order. But in this video, I also provide a clip, a montage clip from my film United We Fall, where in that I put together, along with my friend Brian, we put together this compilation of all the different times that these various world leaders have called for specifically A New World Order. So if you haven't seen that, guys, I want to share that one with you as well. Check out this clip.
The hope that each of us has to build a new world order in which nations and peoples with different systems and different values can live together in peace.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
There's a need for a new world order. In the next few years, a solution will emerge, that people will look into that cauldron and decide that they have to learn their limits. But I think that at the end of this administration, with all its turmoil, and at the beginning of the next, we might actually witness the creation of a new order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
It is a new mindset that the world now needs. It is a real global New Deal that we need, an ecological and an economic New Deal that we need. In the name of France, I call upon all states to join ranks in order to found the new world order of the 21st century.
I think the new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation. We need a world of shared global rules, founded on shared global values.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
The New World Order essentially is an agenda. It's a plan to unite the world into one.
So this is indeed nothing new. This has been going on for quite some time, and as I showed you earlier, even Biden himself has been talking about this for nearly a decade publicly. So it's nothing certainly new today. But what we do have to be wary of moving forward, as I said, is the true false flag attack that may be coming at the hands of the World Economic Forum. The next false flag will be a cyber attack on global supply chains, cyber polygon exposed. In October of 2019, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, organized a simulation called Event 201 to test what a global reaction to a global pandemic might look like, just a few months before the exact same scenario played out in real life. Now, the WEF, along with Russia's Sberbank and its cybersecurity subsidiary Bizone, have announced that they will be running a new simulation called Cyber Polygon, which simulates a supply chain cyber attack similar to the recent SolarWinds hack that would assess the cyber resilience of the exercise's participants. In this video, Dan Dicks of Press for Truth speaks with James Corbett of the Corbett Report about the upcoming Cyber Polygon simulated event how society is being conditioned for a real cyber attack to come, and most importantly, what you can do about it now to protect yourself and your family from this coming cyber catastrophe. I want to remind you, I put this out back in June of 2021, June last year, and now we have the Biden administration openly talking about the fact that the Russians are planning an upcoming cyber attack. Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, it's the World Economic Forum who's planning an upcoming cyber attack. And if you haven't seen my interview with one and only James Corbett, where we break this whole thing down, be sure to check that one out as well, guys. Once again, links for all of this stuff are going to be located in the description below. I strongly encourage you to do your due diligence. Go back, and especially if you're new here at Press for Truth, go back, look at some of the old coverage I've done on these things. Check all the sources in the description of every video I make to do your due diligence and look into this stuff for yourself. Don't just take it from me. Once again, I want to remind you, if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, there's a whole number of different ways that you can contribute to what I'm trying to do here. And again, if you do appreciate it, please check out the links located in the description below. That's all for today, my friends. I want to thank you so much once again for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming very soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.